use sources unless they use somebody's name.
So why did the White House organize a briefing insisting that officials be quoted anonymously? And the new question this morning, did the White House ask key members of Congress to counter stories about alleged contacts between Trump associates and Russian officials?
Deadly nerve agent, the killer chemical used to assassinate the half-brother of the North Korean leader. The U.S. condemning the use of a weapon of mass destruction and how much one of the female suspects claims she was paid to carry out the attack and why she thought it was only harmless oil.
Wild shootout. Look at this. The quiet neighborhood turned into a crime scene. This car riddled with bullets, casings littering the street.
It was scary, man.
The woman holding police at bay, why police say they were forced to open fire here.
And all about Oscar, the major hit in tough competition with suspense building. The categories to watch that could hold huge clues.
It still feels completely surreal.
On the night's biggest awards show.
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
Hey, good morning. And we start here with President Trump ramping up his attacks on the media overnight.
In a late-night tweet, the president saying, quote, fake news media knowingly doesn't tell the truth, a great danger to our country.
Yeah, this came just hours after the president spoke to a group of conservative activists saying reporters should not be allowed to quote anonymous sources.
But this morning, the Washington Post reporting the Trump administration recruited members of the intelligence community to counter stories about Trump associates, ties to Russia, and that some of those officials spoke to reporters anonymously.
All this is happening as the Democrats gather in Atlanta to elect a new party chair. They're really trying to chart a course forward in the age of Trump. Many angles to cover this morning, and we kick it all off with ABC's David Curley, who's at the White House. David, good morning to you.
Morning, Dan. The attacks by the president and his White House continued overnight, as you mentioned, and underlying all this are the investigations of possible contacts between the Trump campaign and Russian officials.
Facing stories and investigations about alleged ties to Russia, this morning President Trump and his White House are again targeting journalists.
I called the fake news the enemy of the people, and they are. They are the enemy of the people. Because they have no sources, they just make them up.
The president apparently talking about a New York Times story saying his campaign had numerous contacts with Russian intelligence.
I'm against the people that make up stories and make up sources. They shouldn't be allowed to use sources unless they use somebody's name.
A White House source, ironically requiring anonymity, says the chief of staff was told by an FBI official that the story was not true. But when Reince Priebus asked the FBI to say so publicly, the Bureau declined. And the president questioned the Bureau in tweets, saying the FBI is totally unable to stop the national security leakers. They can't even find the leakers within the FBI itself. And this morning, a Washington Post report saying the Trump administration reportedly tried to enlist other politicians to quiet the Russian stories. The president set aside that controversy to bask in the bright lights of CPAC, having co-opted much of the conservative movement, which did not warm to him until the election.
The core conviction of our movement is that we are a nation that put and will put its own citizens first.
But more conflict just hours later. After the president signs an executive order to study reducing regulation, the press secretary held an off-camera briefing in his office, but left some major news outlets out, which our Cecilia Vega asked Sean Spicer about.
When you look at those other outlets, because Cecilia, there's 3,000 people that are credentialed to come in here.
But there are 6.
Okay. Oh, no, there's not 6. There's actually, no, actually that is false. To say that there are 6, maybe 6 that reached out to you.
Among those that were not allowed in, the New York, or excluded rather, were the New York Times. The president has nothing on his calendar today, Dan and Paula. Tomorrow, the governors from the country are here for a grand ball.
David, thank you. And we've got a powerhouse pair of ABC News political analysts this morning, Cokie Roberts in Washington and Matthew Dowd, who's in Austin, Texas. Good morning to both of you. Cokie, let me start with you. We're watching the Trump administration really escalate the attacks on the media. So what's the strategy here, and is it likely to work?
Well, it works with the people who love Donald Trump and hate the media, and that's an awful lot of Americans. The fact is that it puts the media in a difficult situation, because every day we're forced to say, here's what he said that isn't true. And then people say, well, he says that's fake news. And then people start to say, well, who is right here? And that becomes very difficult.
Matt, do you think this is a winning strategy?
I think in the short term it helps them because it undermines the press and undermines anybody that tries to have some factual dispute with him. Donald Trump, for the last 2 years, has to have somebody to post up against. He had it with the Republicans when he ran in the primary. He had it with Hillary Clinton. And now he wants to create it with the press. He does not want to stand unto himself because he doesn't want that kind of introspection on him.
Okay, guys, let's shift gears. Let's talk about Russia, because Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said recently that it's highly likely that an investigation will be launched, a bipartisan investigation. We know these probes are intensifying, but the White House says that any insinuation about possible contacts between Trump associates and Russia, it's a witch hunt. What's your view?
Well, an investigation, obviously, it will be launched. What's unsettling, to put it mildly, about the stories today are that one of the people, or two of the people enlisted by the White House to try to knock down the stories are the heads, the Republican heads of the Senate and House Intelligence Committees. And those would be the bodies doing the investigations, unless they set up a separate commission, which they've said they don't want to do, that they want the intelligence committees to do the investigation. Well, if the White House already has the chairs saying there's no story here, what kind of investigation does that become?
Matt?
Well, in the land of Oz, sometimes you do find a witch in a witch hunt. And I think in this has been a cloud hanging over Donald Trump for his entirety of his campaign. And obviously we know that from our intelligence agencies, Russia was involved in hacking into our election, in releasing information that affected our election in some way. Donald Trump and his people, there's relationships that exist there. So the Senate and the House need to investigate this, and we'll see over time what all is involved.
Finally, the Democrats gathered today to elect a new party chair. Hillary Clinton's been cheering them on from the sidelines in a slick new video that was released yesterday. It seems like the choice the party faces right now is whether to go into all-out war mode with Trump, or as many activists are demanding, or whether to find areas where they can cooperate. So Koki, let me start with you. What's the better strategy for the Democrats?
I don't think they have a whole lot of choice here. I think that the Republicans said all through the campaign, nothing brings you together like winning, which we saw yesterday with Trump at CPAC. Nothing divides you more than losing, and that's where the Democrats are. They're very divided, everybody blaming everybody else for their loss. But the grassroots have taken over and want to be active. It's instructive that the person that the leaders of the party have chosen to respond to the president on Tuesday is the former governor of Kentucky, Beshear, who is very much a moderate. I'm not sure how that's going to play with the Democratic base.
And Matt, do you want to follow up on that?
Sure. I think the Democrats would be much better positioned. Yes, create a resistance to whatever they don't like, but be thoughtful about it. But in the end, the problem for them isn't Donald Trump and the Republicans. The problem for them is their brand, is their own brand and their own candidates that don't seem to have a capacity to connect with the American public, and especially in those industrial Midwest states. And electing a chairperson in this is a little bit like saying that's going to solve their problem, is a little bit like saying the head of marketing is the reason why the Cubs won. Well, it wasn't the reason why the Cubs won. The Cubs won because they had better players. Democrats need to get better players.
Perfect way to end this with a classic Matthew Dowd analogy. Matt Dowd and Koki
Always
Roberts.
sports.
That's right, and I don't even know much about sports, and I got that one. Thank you very much, both of you. We really appreciate it.
All you need to know is that the Cubs won the World Series.
Yes, I do know that.
All right, Koki and Matt, thank you. And this morning, a deadly shooting near Kansas City and a mosque fire in Tampa are both being investigated as possible hate crimes. A new widow explaining her husband was simply meeting a friend when he was gunned down, and ABC's Eva Pilgrim is covering these stories for us this morning. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning. It seems like one after another, different times of day, different targets, different states. The one thing they all have in common, they are all now being investigated as possible hate crimes.
From coast to coast, a rash of possible hate crimes putting many on edge. This morning, the wife of a man killed in a busy Kansas sports bar speaking out.
He was just enjoying his glass of beer.
Authorities say the shooter, Adam Puritan, targeted 2 Indian men he allegedly described as 2 Middle Eastern men.
Even though that guy was talking so discriminately about his race, he was still minding his own business.
I've got 2 down, gunshot wounds to the chest. I've got a 3rd with a wound to the hip.
Puritan now behind bars, the FBI investigating whether this was a hate crime.
Not everyone is a Muslim.
Authorities watching 917 active hate groups as they track recent hate crimes across the country. During the last week, waves of bomb threats temporarily shutting down Jewish community centers across the country. 69 threats at 54 JCCs since the beginning of this year. A century-old Jewish cemetery in Missouri vandalized. Headstones toppled, left in disarray. And just outside of Tampa, a fire at a mosque Friday also being investigated as a possible hate crime.
Whoever did this maybe intended to discourage us, but this makes us much stronger.
Authorities say someone started the fire at one of the doors. No one was hurt, but the building was damaged.
And authorities now looking at security cameras, hoping they will provide clues as to who started that mosque fire. Members there say there has been the occasional hate-filled social media post, but no specific threat before the fire.
We're sending our best to that community. Eva, thank you. We're going to move on now to new details in that bizarre assassination of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's half-brother, which played out, as you can see, on surveillance cameras. We're now hearing that one of the female suspects was paid just $90 to help carry out this attack, which involved VX nerve agent. And ABC's Alex Marquardt is on the story from our London bureau. Alex, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. That's right. $90 in cash, that suspect said, to rub what she claimed she thought was baby oil on the face of Kim Jong-nam. Instead, it was one of the deadliest chemical weapons on the planet. North Korea has denied any role in this murder, which raises new concerns about the extent of their weapons arsenal and how they may use it against their enemies. The brazen killing in one of the world's busiest airports taking an even darker turn with the revelation that the chemical used was the rare nerve agent VX.
It's exceptionally lethal. It's one of the most lethal creations that man has ever come up with.
VX is classified as a chemical weapon of mass destruction. The 2 female suspects at the Kuala Lumpur airport believed to have rubbed it on their hands before smothering it on the face of Kim Jong-nam, the estranged older half-brother of North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. VX has no odor or taste. A minuscule amount will trigger uncontrollable muscle contractions, confusion, drowsiness, and nausea, resulting in death or paralysis. As Kim arrives at the airport, you can see a woman lunging at her target, quickly rubbing his face before escaping. A second woman was also involved. One of the female suspects from Indonesia claimed she thought she was participating in a TV prank show, for which she was allegedly paid around $90 to rub an oil on Kim's face. Kim immediately alerted airport authorities, then collapsed. The assailants said to have quickly washed their hands, one of them vomiting, but otherwise unaffected.
The amount that they put on that individual's face would have been enough to have killed tens of people, if not hundreds of people, if actually sort of dispersed properly.
Malaysian authorities have just announced they will be carrying out a sweep in that terminal later today for any remaining radioactive or chemical elements. This use of VX has been widely condemned, including by American officials. A Pentagon spokesman calling it a very real threat. This attack sending a clear message about the brutal lengths that Kim Jong-un is willing to go. Paula?
All right, Alex Marquardt reporting for us this morning. Thank you, Alex. And back at home, the wild shootout caught on camera, a search for 2 burglary suspects ending in a standoff and gunfire. And ABC's Adrienne Bankert has the details.
The wild scene in a quiet Texas neighborhood caught on camera.
It was scary, man.
One woman is dead and a man in custody following a massive shootout with police Friday afternoon. Casings littering the asphalt, the suspect's car riddled with dozens of holes after authorities say the 33-year-old woman shot at officers during a standoff.
That's when you hear like 20 guns just go off.
The hail of gunfire that followed, captured by a neighbor in this cell phone video. According to police, the altercation started early Friday. Officers attempting to arrest the unidentified woman for a burglary warrant. But the suspect speeding off, leading officers on a high-speed chase that ended nearly 10 miles away on this suburban street. SWAT teams arriving on scene, attempting to negotiate with the woman for nearly half an hour.
I just can't believe that it went as far as it did. I was out there expecting to see somebody get rustled to the ground and not killed.
And again, you can tell from that video, this was all playing out in a suburb. I want you to imagine people are on the street, they're getting back from the store, unloading groceries, when they see this procession of police vehicles, SWAT teams. Really concerning. Police have still not released the name of that suspect, but some good news, the officers were not injured in that shootout.
Yeah, but a harrowing story, Adrian.
Definitely.
Thank you. Appreciate it. A lot of other news this morning, and for that, as always, it's over to Dr. Ron Claiborne. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Dan. Good morning to you and Paula. Robert, good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. We can begin in Pennsylvania, where an Amber Alert covering 3 states ended with a little girl found safe and the alleged murder of her mother under arrest. Oscar Hernandez is accused of killing the mother, his former girlfriend, at their home in Connecticut and taking off with their 6-year-old daughter. He was captured after a chase that ended with his car crashing. Immigration officials say Hernandez was deported to his native El Salvador in 2013. And breaking overnight reports of a wave of suicide bombing attacks in Syria. Syrian media say a number of explosions hit what is described as a security compound in the city of Homs. A human rights group says that at least 14 people were killed. Homs is Syria's 3rd largest city, is mostly under government control. And back at home, stocks edged up a little bit on Friday, but it was enough for the Dow to set another record high. The index finishing at 20,821. That made 11 straight days that the Dow has established a new peak. And that is a new record. And here in New York, a warm reception for former President Barack Obama when he turned up in public. A crowd gathering and cheering when Mr. Obama was spotted at a Starbucks in Manhattan Friday. Later, he and daughter Malia attended a Broadway show, The Price, an Arthur Miller play. And finally, talk about bouncing back from adversity. A Florida man finished a half marathon Friday less than a month after he nearly died of a heart attack while running in that race. In January, Craig Smith collapsed a little more than halfway through the race. Several nurses who were there gave him CPR, saving his life. On Friday, Smith returned to the spot where he fell and walked the rest of that route. How about that? Just, I think it was 27 days after he was felled by a heart attack. Love it. Back and walk on the road. Great, huh?
Not how you start, it's how you finish. Good for him to have that tenacity.
That's good.
All right, Rob, so hearing about some treacherous weather back in the Midwest.
Yeah, you know, we had this record heat, and now we've got thunderstorms that are pushing into that, so some of them became severe. This is what happened in Indiana yesterday. Greensburg, quarter-inch size hail, pounding the wind chills there, making driving difficult. Also, difficult driving on the backside of this storm, which had big-time snow. Matter of fact, they closed Interstate 80 west of Lincoln, Nebraska. It's since open, but a bit of a mess there. In some spots, over 20 inches of snow falling. Generally speaking, though, a swath of about a foot north of Lincoln up through Green Bay. The snow is winding down, but this line, this ribbon of thunderstorms could become severe again later on today in the way of some hail and some gusty winds along the highly populated I-95 corridor. Timing of that is between 3 p.m. and about 8 p.m. tonight, and we'll see probably some hail and some damaging winds. More records expected to fall today. We had dozens yesterday. For the month, about 5,000 record highs have occurred, and these are just some of the all-time records for February. 81 degrees yesterday in Louisville, 78 degrees in Columbus, Ohio, even Boston, 73 degrees. Yes, it is February. I hope you enjoyed this because coming tomorrow, it is over. Let's quick check on the national headlines. Here now, your local forecast.
The chance for some severe storms later today does exist in the D.C. area. Slight risk outlining much of the viewing area anywhere we see the shades of yellow behind me. Now, this is the line that we're watching for you. Western PA getting hit hard now with some steadier rain, but this line is expected to reorganize once it gets east of the mountains, producing some damaging winds, some smaller sized hail, and also some pockets of heavier rainfall later today. The main hours we're concerned with, 1 to 5 o'clock. Keep an eye to the sky.
Big day tomorrow. Oscars in L.A., a chance for rain, and they are running at Daytona, baby. We'll talk about the race day.
The what? What are they running?
The Daytona 500.
Oh, I just loved how you said it.
You did. It was hard to understand with the southern accent.
It comes out once in a while.
I don't know what.
So winter is not over, basically.
Not quite, not quite. It's coming back next week.
So I shouldn't have assembled my outdoor patio furniture yesterday?
It's always, go ahead.
Too aggressive?
We'll meet you there.
All right. Well, you mentioned the treacherous weather in the Midwest, but we have a much better story coming out of the Midwest. A small town in Indiana is on a big high this morning, a buzz with the Powerball mystery. Who bought the single winning ticket to a gigantic jackpot? And Diane,
I got so excited. I jumped
You're
the
here with the story. We're so excited about this.
Are you going to speak in a Southern accent as well?
This is like a big game of Guess Who, everybody. I have no idea if that was any good or